Captain Lee, Jinwoo stared at the strange lights, blinking on his ship's main screen. For 3 days, the signals had been coming from somewhere beyond the solar system. Not the kind of signals Earth's scientists had hoped to receive when they first imagined meeting aliens. "Captain, the message is repeating again," said Park Minna from her communications station. Her young face showed excitement mixed with worry. "Same pattern, same frequency." Jinwoo rubbed his tired eyes. He had been awake for almost 20 hours, ever since the first signal arrived. The exploration ship New Dawn was humanity's most advanced vessel, but nothing had prepared them for this moment. "Play it again, Mina. Let's see if we missed anything." The bridge fell silent as strange sounds filled the air. Clicks, whistles, and what sounded like electronic music mixed together. Then, suddenly, words in broken English came through the static. "Earth people, ... we seek ... safe place, running from bad ones." Lieutenant Commander Kim Sora moved closer to Jinwoo. "Sir, our computers have been working on the translation. It seems like they're asking for help." Before Jin could respond, the main screen flickered. An alien face appeared, reptilian and scarred, with large yellow eyes that seemed both fierce and desperate. The creature's mouth moved awkwardly as it tried to speak human words. "I am Captain Velthor of the Sorok people," the alien said slowly. "We come with others who have nowhere to go. The galactic hegemony has thrown us out of our homes. We ask Earth for sanctuary." Sora gasped quietly. "There are others." As if hearing her question, the screen split to show more alien faces. One looked like a cloud of purple gas with sparkling lights inside. Another appeared to be some kind of insect with multiple eyes arranged around its head. "We are 43 ships," Velthar continued. 200,000 beings who chose to keep our ways instead of becoming like them. Will Earth give us a place to rest?" Jinwoo felt the weight of the moment. This was not just first contact with alien life. These were refugees, running from something that had forced them to leave their homes. He thought of Earth's own history, of people fleeing war and persecution, seeking new places to build their lives. Mina opened a channel to Earth Command. Priority 1. On Earth, President Yoon Da-hee was pulled from her sleep by urgent calls from the Global Defense Center in Seoul. Within an hour, she sat in the emergency meeting room with her top advisors, watching the alien transmission on the large wall screen. "What do we know about this galactic hegemony they mentioned?" she asked. Defense Minister Choi Taemin shuffled through electronic reports. "Nothing, Madam President. This is our first indication that there's any kind of galactic government at all." Dr. Han Yujin, Earth's leading expert on the possibility of alien life, leaned forward in her chair. "These beings traveled across space to find us. They could have gone anywhere, but they came to Earth asking for help. That tells us something about their desperation, or about their intentions," Choi warned. "We don't know if this is really a refugee situation or some kind of trick." The debate continued for hours. Some officials worried about Earth's safety. Others argued about resources and space. A few suggested that helping aliens might anger this hegemony and bring trouble to Earth. President Yoon listened to all sides, but her mind kept returning to the scared look in the alien captain's eyes. She had seen that look before, in the faces of human refugees who had fled disasters and wars. "Dr. Han, what's your recommendation?" The scientist took a deep breath. "Madam President, we've always wondered what we would do when we met alien life. Now we know. They're not coming as conquerors or explorers. They're coming as people who need help. If we turn them away without even learning their story, what does that say about humanity?" Meanwhile, aboard New Dawn, Captain Jinwoo waited for orders from Earth. The alien ships hung in space nearby, close enough to see but far enough to avoid any accidents. They looked strange and beautiful, each one different from the others, clearly built by different species with different ideas about how ships should look. "Captain," Sora said quietly, I've been monitoring their communications. They're not talking to each other much, but when they do, it sounds ... scared. Whatever they're running from must be pretty bad. Minna looked up from her station. Sir, I'm getting a transmission from Earth Command. President Yoon's face appeared on the screen. Her expression was serious, but kind. Captain Lee, I'm speaking directly to you because this decision will affect all of humanity. These beings have asked us for sanctuary. After much discussion, we have decided that Earth will not turn away those who seek refuge. Tell them they are welcome here. Jinwoo smiled for the first time in days. Yes, Madam President. It will be my honor. He turned to Mina. Open a channel to the alien fleet. Captain Velthur's scarred face reappeared on the screen, hope flickering in his yellow eyes. Captain Velthur, this is Captain Jinwoo of Earth. I have a message from our leaders. Earth grants you and your people sanctuary. Welcome to our solar system. The alien's expression changed completely. Relief, gratitude, and something that might have been tears filled his eyes. Thank you, Captain Jinwoo. You have saved us all. 2 weeks had passed since the refugee ships arrived at Earth. Captain Jinwoo watched from his bridge as the aliens worked with human engineers to build temporary homes and space stations around the planet. Everything seemed peaceful until Mina's urgent voice broke the calm. Captain, massive energy signature approaching. Something big is coming out of hyperspace. The space around Earth suddenly filled with light as hundreds of crystal ships appeared. They were beautiful and terrifying at the same time, looking like giant diamonds that sparkled with their own inner fire. The largest ship was 10 times bigger than anything Earth had ever built. Incoming transmission, Minna reported, her voice shaking slightly. A figure materialized on the bridge in a shower of bright light. It looked like a person made entirely of living crystal, tall and sharp-edged, with light moving through its body like lightning through glass. When it spoke, its voice sounded like wind chimes mixed with breaking ice. I am Admiral Thylos of the Galactic Hegemony, the crystal being announced. You have something that belongs to us. Jinwoo stood straight, trying not to show how nervous he felt. I'm Captain Lee Jinwoo, of Earth. What exactly do you think we have? The criminals you are hiding. Thylos replied coldly. The ones who refuse to accept the gift of perfection. Surrender them now, and your primitive world might still find a place in civilized space. Lieutenant Commander Sora stepped forward. We'd like to understand what crimes they committed. The Crystal Admiral's form pulsed with annoyed light. The Sorok refused genetic improvement when we offered to fix their flawed DNA. The Nebulans rejected joining our unified consciousness. The insect hive minds would not allow us to separate their group mind into proper individual thoughts. Jinwoo felt confused and angry. Those sound like personal choices, not crimes. Choice leads to chaos, Thylos said, his voice getting colder. The hegemony brings peace through unity. One perfect way to look, one way to think, one way to live. These refugees poison such perfection with their stubborn differences. On Earth, President Yoon received an emergency call about the alien fleet surrounding their planet. She quickly gathered her advisors in the Seoul Command Center, where Dr. Han Yujin was already meeting with the refugee leaders. Captain Velthor explained the situation to the worried humans. My people have looked the same for millions of years, he said through his translator. We have our own culture, our own way of life. The hegemony wanted to change our DNA to match their idea of perfection. We said no. The purple gas cloud called Flowey Wind added. They tried to force all Nebulan minds to join their collective consciousness. We would stop being individuals. We would become part of their single mind. Sharpthink, speaking for the insect hive minds, made clicking sounds that the translator turned into words. They wanted to break apart our group mind, make us think alone, like other species. For us, that would be like cutting off our arms and legs. Dr. Han looked at President Yoon with concern. They're not criminals. They just refuse to give up who they are. Back in space, Admiral Thylas was losing patience with Captain Jinwoo. Your ignorance is expected from such a young species. Let me explain simply. We have brought order to thousands of worlds. Every being now looks perfect, thinks correctly, and lives in harmony. Harmony? Sora asked. Or fear? There is no difference, Thylas replied. Fear of being different creates perfect unity. Jinwoo felt sick thinking about what the Admiral was describing. What happened to the species that agreed to your changes? They became perfect. All Sorok now have the same improved DNA. All Nebulans share one consciousness. All insect species think as individuals. Diversity is extinct, and they are happier for it. The crystal being moved closer, its light becoming brighter and more threatening. You will surrender the criminals, or Earth will learn why the galaxy fears the hegemony. President Yoon's voice came through Jinwoo's communication system. She had been listening to the entire conversation. Admiral Thylas, this is President Yoon of Earth. We have heard your demands and your reasons. The Crystal Admiral turned his attention to the new voice. Finally, someone with authority speaks. You're right, I do have authority, President Yoon continued. And I use that authority to tell you that Earth will not surrender beings whose only crime was choosing to remain themselves. Thylas' crystal form flared with angry light. Then you have chosen to share their fate. We have chosen to share their freedom, the President replied firmly. The Admiral's image began to fade. You have 1 day to reconsider. After that, no ships leave your system, no trade reaches your world, and no help comes from the galaxy. You will learn that isolation is the price of defying perfection. As the crystal being disappeared, Jinwoo looked out at the hegemony fleet surrounding Earth. Hundreds of diamond ships began moving into positions around the solar system, cutting off all routes to space. They're building a blockade, Sora observed quietly. Min-Ah looked up from her instruments. Captain, I'm detecting energy barriers being placed around all the jump points. Nothing can get in or out. Jinwoo thought about President Yoon's brave words and hoped Earth was strong enough to back them up. Outside, the refugee ships moved closer to Earth's defenses, as if offering to help protect the world that had given them sanctuary. The siege of Earth had begun. 3 months into the blockade, Earth was struggling. No supply ships could reach the mining stations on Mars. No exploration vessels could leave to gather resources from the asteroid belt. The hegemony's crystal ships floated like deadly jewels around every exit from the solar system, stopping anything that tried to leave or enter. Dr. Lee. Hyjin wiped sweat from her forehead as she worked in the underground laboratory beneath Seoul. Across from her, a Sorok engineer named Scale bent over a piece of metal with tools that looked nothing like human equipment. Show me again how you make the metal stronger, Hyjin said in simple English, knowing the translator would help Scale Worker understand. The reptilian alien hissed softly, which his translator said meant he was thinking. Your human metal is, like baby bones, soft, breaks easy. We make metal like old bones, hard, lasts forever. Scale Worker touched the metal with a device that looked like a silver stick. The metal began to change color, becoming darker, and somehow looking tougher. When he finished, he handed it to Hyjin. She nearly dropped it. The piece of metal that had been light enough for a child to carry now felt heavier than a rock, but when she tried to bend it, it would not move at all. Amazing, she whispered. With this technique, we can build defensive satellites that their weapons cannot destroy. Across the city, engineer Park Dong-hyuk was having his own breakthrough with the nebulan called Flowey. The purple gas creature floated in a special room filled with the gases it needed to survive. Humans use energy like taking water from a river, Flowey explained, its voice sounding like wind through leaves. You take some, use it, then it is gone. Nebulans are energy. We do not take it, we become it. Park watched in amazement as Flowey stretched itself out and seemed to disappear. Becoming invisible, except for a faint purple glow in the air. Suddenly, all the lights in the room became brighter, and the computers ran faster. "You turned yourself into electricity?" Park asked. "Not turned into, always was. Now I show your machines how to drink starlight directly, like plants drink sunshine." In another part of Seoul, Captain Velther worked with Dr. Kim Jae-ho on military strategy. The Sorok captain moved small models of ships around a holographic display, while the human scientist watched carefully. "Hegemony fights like machines," Velthar explained, his scarred hands moving the crystal ship models in straight lines. "Always the same patterns, always predictable. They expect everyone to fight the same way too." "But we won't," Dr. Kim said, beginning to understand. "Exactly. Humans think like Sorok think. You change plans, try new things, survive when others die. Hegemony cannot predict what they have never seen before." The most surprising partnership happened in the computer center, where the hive mind representative Sharpthink worked with programmer Nam Subin. Sharpthink looked like a giant ant with multiple eyes, but its intelligence was incredible. "Human internet is like baby hive mind," Sharpthink clicked through its translator. "Many minds connected, but not thinking together. We make it truly alive." Subin watched nervously as Sharpthink connected itself directly to the main computer with thin cables that came from its body. Suddenly, every screen in the room lit up with information moving faster than human eyes could follow. "What's happening?" Subin asked. "Your computers now think like us," Sharpthink replied. "Individual thoughts, joining with group processing. Every calculation happens everywhere at once." These discoveries led to something incredible. Under the command of Admiral Sora, who had been promoted after Earth's brave stand, human and alien engineers began building a new kind of spaceship. The ships looked like nothing anyone had seen before. They had the smooth, curved lines of Sorok design, but were built with the impossible strong metal techniques the reptilians had shared. They were powered by nebulan energy systems that could drink power directly from stars. Most importantly, they were controlled by computers enhanced with hive mind intelligence that could think faster than any individual brain. "We're not just building ships," Admiral Sora told her mixed crew of humans and aliens. "We're proving that working together makes all of us stronger." The first test came when hegemony scouts tried to sneak past Earth's outer defenses. 3 crystal ships moved in perfect formation toward Mars, expecting to find weak human satellites they could easily destroy. Instead, they found 5 of the new hybrid ships waiting for them. The battle was unlike anything in galactic history. The hybrid ships moved in ways that made no sense to hegemony computers. They flew in curves that seemed impossible, powered by energy that came from nowhere the crystal ships could detect, and fought with tactics that changed every few seconds. One moment the human alien ships were attacking from the left. The next, they were somehow behind the hegemony vessels. Then they seemed to split apart and attack from 6 directions at once. The hegemony scouts tried to use their standard battle programs, but nothing worked. Their weapons hit empty space where the hybrid ships had been a second before. Their shields were struck by energy types they had never encountered. Within 10 minutes, all 3 crystal ships were retreating toward the edge of the solar system, their hulls cracked and their systems failing. Admiral Thylos received the scouts' report with growing anger and confusion. How did primitive humans defeat our advanced ships? The answer, though he did not know it yet, was simple. Earth had learned that differences were not weaknesses to be eliminated, but strengths to be combined, and that lesson was about to change the entire galaxy. The victory against the hegemony scouts brought an unexpected surprise. 3 days after the battle, Captain Velthor received strange messages on his personal communication device. The signals were weak and hidden, coming from all across the galaxy. "Captain Jinwoo, you need to see this," Velthar said, his yellow eyes bright with excitement. He had called an emergency meeting in Earth's command center. Jinwoo looked at the alien symbols dancing across Velthor's screen. What am I looking at? Messages from my people? Veltor explained. But not the refugees here with us. These are coming from Sarok, still living under hegemony control. Dr. Han Yujin leaned closer to study the patterns. I thought the hegemony changed all your people, made them look and think the same. Velthor's scarred face showed something that might have been a smile. That is what the hegemony believes. But my people are clever. We learned to hide our true selves while pretending to be what they wanted. Flowey Wind, the Nebulan, drifted closer in its cloud form. Same with Nebulons. We join their group mind during the day, but at night, when they sleep, we separate and remember who we really are. Sharpthink clicked excitedly. Hive minds pretend to think alone, but we still share thoughts in ways the crystal people cannot detect. President Yoon arrived at the command center as the aliens explained what they had discovered. You're telling me that species across the galaxy are secretly keeping their original cultures. Much more than that, Dr. Han said, working with the alien translators to decode the hidden messages. Look at this star map. There are signals coming from thousands of worlds. The map showed the galaxy with thousands of tiny lights blinking, in different colors. Each color represented a different species, and each light was a world where that species was secretly maintaining their true identity, while appearing to follow hegemony rules. Commander Baek Minho, Earth's newest military advisor, studied the map with amazement. This network is huge. How did they keep it secret? Captain Velthor explained, while pointing to different areas on the map. Corvin bird people still sing their old songs, but in sound frequencies the hegemony cannot hear. Mollusk builders make their structures look standard, but hide traditional patterns inside the walls, where scanners cannot see them. Even some crystal people disagree with the hegemony, Flowey Wind added. They send messages by changing the color of their light in ways that look like normal communication, but carry hidden meanings. President Yoon felt hope growing in her chest. How long has this been going on? Since the hegemony first began forcing changes, Sharpthink replied. Hundreds of years. We have been waiting for someone brave enough to stand up first. Dr. Han was working frantically with her computers, trying to understand the full size of the hidden network. Madam President, this changes everything. We're not just fighting the hegemony. We're fighting alongside millions of beings who want their freedom back. The decision was made quickly. Earth would send a message to every world in the hidden network. The message was simple. Earth stands with you. It is time to stop hiding. The response was immediate and incredible. Across 12 star systems, things began to go wrong for the hegemony at exactly the same time. Communication networks that had worked perfectly for decades suddenly developed mysterious problems. Transport ships that were supposed to carry passengers to their jobs instead took them to places where they could practice their forbidden cultures. On the industrial world of Kethra, mollusk workers began building factory equipment with tiny traditional decorations hidden in the metal. The decorations were so small that hegemony inspectors could not see them. But every mollusk knew they were there. On the gas giant Nimbus, Nebulan workers, who were supposed to be sharing one consciousness, began having private thoughts during work hours. The crystal overseers noticed that productivity was dropping, but they could not figure out why. Most importantly, Admiral Crystalla, a high-ranking crystal person in the hegemony fleet, revealed herself to be the secret leader of the resistance movement. People of Earth. Her message came through hidden channels. Your courage has shown us that open rebellion is possible. We have been waiting in secret for someone to make the first move. Admiral Sora received Crystalla's transmission aboard her flagship. The Crystal Admiral's appearance was shocking. Instead of the perfect, identical look of other hegemony crystals, Crystalla had allowed her crystal form to grow in natural, unique patterns. She looked like a living work of art instead of a military machine. How many ships do you command? Sora asked. 5,000 vessels across the galaxy, Kristalla replied. All crewed by beings who are tired of pretending to be something they are not. But we need time to reach you. Meanwhile, Admiral Thylos was discovering that his perfect empire was falling apart from the inside. Reports came in from across the galaxy about equipment failures, productivity drops, and strange behavior among the supposedly perfected populations. How is this possible? He demanded of his advisors. Our systems showed complete integration of all species. His chief scientist, another crystal being, studied the reports nervously. Sir, it appears that many species learned to hide their true thoughts and behaviors from our scanners. Thylos felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. How many worlds are affected? All of them, sir. The Crystal Admiral made a decision that would lead to the final battle. Prepare the entire fleet. We will destroy Earth completely, to show the galaxy what happens to those who resist perfection. But he did not know that his message was intercepted by the hidden network, and that Kristalla's rebel fleet was already racing toward Earth at maximum speed. The day of the final battle, Admiral Sora stood on the bridge of her flagship Unity, watching 10,000 crystal ships appear at the edge of the solar system. The hegemony fleet looked like a field of deadly diamonds, each one sparkling with weapons that could destroy planets. Earth's defense fleet had only 300 ships, but each one was different. Human engineering mixed with Sorak metalworking, powered by Nebulan energy, and controlled by hive mind-enhanced computers. They looked like a collection of strange art pieces compared to the identical crystal vessels. All ships, remember what we learned? Sora spoke into her communication system. We don't fight like they expect. We fight like ourselves. Admiral Thylos transmitted from his massive command ship. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. Continue this foolishness, and we will make your destruction a lesson the galaxy will never forget. President Yoon, now aboard Unity for the historic moment, responded personally. We learned something you never understood, Admiral. Being different makes us stronger, not weaker. The battle began with the hegemony ships firing in perfect formation. Thousands of energy beams shot toward Earth's fleet in precise patterns that should have destroyed everything in their path. But Captain Ginwoo, commanding a squadron of the newest hybrid fighters, led an attack that should have been impossible. Flowey Wind, can your people make our ships disappear through their energy shields? The Nebulan's voice came through the ship's speakers. Dangerous, but possible. Human pilots must trust completely in energy they cannot see. We trust you, Ginwoo replied. 12 Earth fighters suddenly became invisible as they passed through the hegemony's energy barriers. The crystal ship's computers could not understand what was happening. Their sensors showed empty space, but their shields were being hit from inside. Jinwoo's squadron appeared inside the enemy flagship, their weapons targeting the most important systems. Explosions lit up the crystal ship from within as the hybrid fighters phased back out to safety. But the real turning point came when space filled with new ships. Admiral Kristalla had arrived with the rebel fleet, 5,000 vessels from across the galaxy. Each ship was different, representing over 100 species that had been hiding their true selves for centuries. This is Admiral Kristalla II. All hegemony forces. Her voice reached every ship in the battle. Look around you. See how beautiful the galaxy becomes when every species contributes their own gifts. The rebel fleet was amazing to watch. Bird-like Corvin ships flew in flocking patterns that confused the crystal computers. Mollusk vessels that looked like giant shells spun in ways that made their weapons impossible to track. Gas creature ships changed shape constantly, avoiding attacks by becoming different sizes and forms. Even more shocking, half of Thylos' own fleet began to change sides. Crystal ships that had looked identical suddenly showed unique patterns of light. Their crews had been secretly part of the resistance all along. Impossible, Thylos transmitted, his voice filled with panic. My ships are turning against me. Admiral Sora watched as the tide of battle shifted completely. What had begun as 10,000 against 300 was now becoming 6,000 rebels against 4,000 loyalists, and the rebels fought with creativity and surprise that the hegemony had never learned to counter. A hive mind ship, commanded by Sharp Think, used its collective intelligence to predict every move the crystal ships would make. Surak vessels, strengthened by their impossible metal techniques, rammed directly through hegemony energy barriers. Nebulan-powered ships drew energy from the battle itself, becoming stronger as the fighting continued. The final moment came when Admiral Thylos found himself surrounded by rebel ships. His perfect fleet was scattered across space, some destroyed, others surrendering, and many joining the rebellion. "I do not understand," he transmitted to the combined rebel fleet. "Unity through sameness brought peace to the galaxy." "President," Yoon answered him directly. "Unity through diversity brings strength. Peace through understanding brings growth. That's the difference between fear and hope." Faced with complete defeat, Thylos finally surrendered. The remaining hegemony ships powered down their weapons and waited for instructions from their former enemies. 6 months later, beings from over 200 species gathered on Earth for the most important meeting in galactic history. The Seoul Convention Center had been expanded with alien technology to hold representatives of every size and type of life form. Dr. Han Yujin, now the first director of cultural preservation for the new Galactic Diversity Council, stood before the assembly. The charter they had written was displayed in 43 different languages simultaneously. "Today we establish one simple rule," she announced. "Every species has the right to remain themselves while contributing to a greater community." Captain Velthor, now serving as Earth's first alien ambassador, watched Sorak children playing with human kids in the playground outside the convention center. Their scales and skin were different colors, but their laughter sounded the same. "The galaxy's outcasts found their home," he told Captain Jinwoo, who stood beside him, "and Earth found its purpose. Not to conquer, but to bring different people together." The former hegemony worlds began the slow work of remembering their lost cultures. Species that had hidden their true selves for generations could finally live openly again. Artists created beauty in styles that had been forbidden for centuries. Scientists made discoveries by combining different ways of thinking. Earth became known throughout the galaxy, not as humanity's world, but as the place where every being could be different while belonging to something wonderful together. The age of forced unity was over. The age of chosen diversity had begun.